Good day and welcome to the latest episode of the ADT Cybersecurity Panel Series. I'm Brian Sherman, host and moderator of today's discussion, and we will be talking about planning a cybersecurity strategy for 2021 and beyond. We're looking to the future, folks. The fantastic news is that there's an all-star cast of industry experts ready to wax eloquently about the topic with me, so you're not just relying on my information. Those that are joining me include Billy Austin, president and co-founder at RocketCyber, Heather Myers, partner channel manager for ADT Cybersecurity, and Zach Karsan, CEO of Vault America. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hello, Brian. Nice
Good. Looking forward to conversation today. How about if we begin with a quick round of personal and company introductions, and I'll start with, how about with Heather?
Yeah, so I'm Heather Myers. I work with ADT Cybersecurity. I'm the channel manager, and basically our focus is to get cybersecurity into small businesses through our partnership with MSPs, IT shops, MSSPs, and really just provide a bolt-on cybersecurity portfolio of services and solutions that they can pick up and plug and play and equip their customers with cybersecurity. And that's really high level.
Fantastic. And how about you, Zach?
Zach Karsan, based out of Boston, as is the company CEO of Vault America. I've been in the channel for lots and lots of years. Love the place, good place to hang out, stay, meet a lot of good people. We provide backup and recovery solutions, disaster recovery solutions to MSPs. Very focused on the channel, very simple partner program, sell more, get a lower cost, easy to bundle in. And we do everything from compliant email archiving to email backup for your Office 365 suite. All the way down to file and folder backup, as well as disaster recovery components also.
Fantastic. And let's share it over to Billy.
I'm Billy Austin, the co-founder of RocketCyber. RocketCyber is a SOC platform, so we develop a lot of technologies, and at the end of the day, that empower a managed service provider to deliver SOC as a service to the small, medium business community.
Fantastic. And now, being that we're getting really close to September now, the fourth quarter is getting closer and closer. This is typically the time that MSPs begin planning. And after 2020, what will planning look like? It's been probably the most unique, unusual year in the channel ever, and I think that's an easy statement for anybody to make at this point. But we wanted to kind of look further, too, as to explore some of the things that are not just affecting MSPs today, but that they need to consider looking out to the next quarter and out to the next year and beyond. So let's start the discussion with the current state of the channel. How are your partners adjusting their security practices to deal with the current business environment? And why don't I start with you, Billy?
It's a great question. I think that what we found is there was a lot of I would call it an allotment of time given the pandemic that allowed many executives at the MSP to evaluate their current stack, their current security gaps, and basically just to reevaluate their entire practice and offering, not just in security, but their IT as well. And with that said, we've seen a number of migrations that are currently in place, from the edge device to backups to AVs to kind of all across the infrastructure. And I think a lot of that is not just being stimulated from the actual cost, but it's how to streamline, make it efficient, increase profitability, and make sure all these different technologies all communicate together.
Very good. And how about you, Zach? We may have lost Zach
the environment, obviously, it's, am I back?
You're back, Zach. Go ahead.
All right. So it's challenging times, as you can see, even maybe some limited bandwidth. Now, I think from a planning stage, everything's changed, right? So the dynamic's different due to this pandemic that's going on. Everything's kind of moved just to a different state of mind, right? So a lot of our partners, I mean, it's great to see the partners super busy. I think I've never seen our partners as busy ever, right? In almost 20 years, just because they're taking care of their customers. Maybe because there's a lack of events and shows and things like that, which obviously, we all as vendors, of course, miss. But I think looking at our partners, they're out there, they're in front of their customers, hooking them up to make sure they're secure, right? All the way down to the home. So there's a silver lining in all of this, and I think there's a lot of organic growth going on. That's what we're seeing with our partners today.
Excellent. And how about you, Heather?
Yeah, we definitely have seen a big shift, obviously, in that work from home, right? Companies moving to work from home and then securing those environments. So our partners have been, it's definitely calmed down a little bit, obviously. There's that talk of continuing the work from home and keeping that secure. It seems like a lot of companies want to adopt the work from home model. And then we've also seen a lot of our partners go from offering, like Billy was saying, just really adapt to new services to offer their customers. And maybe that's going up market a little bit with more cybersecurity, or some of the other companies going and looking at offering simple things like a managed firewall, which they didn't before. So really just reevaluating their stack of security solutions to support their customers.
Yeah, the one thing that I can't wait to see is some of the research on cloud migration. As far as, it's been still a short period of time as far as researchers go, and the channel's done a pretty good job, I think, over the past few years of migrating their business clients onto the cloud. But it just seems like this was like the nail in the coffin for some of the traditional server businesses, moving them over. So that big transitions. I guess the question moving forward is, now that companies have made this transition, we're seeing a lot more remote work and still figuring out what, I guess, the work environment will be in 3 months, in 6 months, in 12 months. Will they go back to the office? What are some of the biggest challenges that you see MSPs facing when it comes to those decisions in cybersecurity? Why don't I go to you first, Billy?
So I'm going to answer your first question. I think there's many companies, just from my dialogue of business owners and MSP operations, they've made the bold decision that says, you know what, maybe this is our lifestyle and our infrastructure, throughout the tenure of our company. And I think people have adopted and proven that working remotely is viable. It's productive, if not more productive, with many scenarios or use cases. With that said, that the evolving attack surface that also makes us think about our current layered security approach. Obviously, when you've got laptops on the go or working from a home, we don't have that same level of protection that we once did on that local network or subnet, if you will. So once again, that's a contributor to the shift and modifications of what the industry calls as their security stack. So with that said, I think just a lot of the planning, making sure that, how they're going to manage, respond to incidents, be able to report on these technologies, bill for them, and make sure that everything's just streamlined and efficient to where there's profitability in the business, not just throwing products, at the problem.
Right. Heather, thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, definitely all of what Billy said for sure is a big focus, and really just, again, incorporating cybersecurity into the work from home environment. And then the other piece really is the training and awareness, right? So definitely making sure that training your employees, phishing emails obviously are like the number one attack that hackers use. And so training everybody to be able to operate in the work from home environment, and definitely using VPNs, right? And tying everything back to a corporate network that you actually can secure. And, as far as challenges, just really taking these losses, these companies that have gone under and they're no longer customers of our partners, and how do we help them shift into different opportunities is really, I see, some of the struggles.
What about on the business continuity side, Zach? I know that's your focus.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line here is there is no network edge anymore, right? It's just it's like Billy said. I mean, the surface attack area, the attack surface area. I mean, it's wide open, right? So, obviously this is around MSPs and the stack and what are they selling and all this kind of stuff. But you just take it down to the end customer, right? Their customer, mid-size, small, right? A lot of the focus in our space, but even enterprise, right? Everyone's at home. I think probably what's going to happen is if you look at all the people that were going to the office, I think 40% of those folks are going to be staying at home. Maybe it's a corporate decision, maybe it's a, corporate flexibility, right? And a personal decision. But I don't believe that, we're going to adjust as a society, right? And it's going to be ever changed forever. That's just the way it is, for the better, I think, in a lot of ways. But from a security standpoint, I think it's gotta, you look at privacy and now we're in people's houses, right? What do you do? I mean, as an MSP, I mean, how do you lock that down? How do you do the right thing by the customer without making them feel like they're literally completely exposed, right? And so, you have to secure the home at this point, right? How do you do that effectively? And with respectfully, I guess, right? But by respecting, an individual's privacy. Well, you can look and say, hey, if I'm a company, right, and I have a good budget, guess what? I'm buying every single one of my employees their own computer, right? Let your kid use whatever they're using, your own computer. Here's the antivirus. Here it is. That's not realistic and not really scalable, right, for a lot of companies, right, especially with everything going on in the industry. So ultimately, if there's a way to advance and have these MSPs granted, phishing and all of these components, right, to teach the employees, right, at home using their own systems, right, of course that's important, right, and that has to be done because it is a big issue. But ultimately, if there's a way where maybe it's some kind of mandate where, look, you gotta, if you're gonna work for this company, based on this environment and this change, this new normal that we have, right? Because it's normal, right? It's just the way it is. We're not going back to the way it was, right? And so I think that making sure that, okay, a company's gonna have to audit the home, right? And maybe MSPs need to start kind of educating and saying, look, to the employee, we can't give you a computer, but guess what? We're gonna give you free antivirus software, right? And implement certain pieces of the security stack. Now, to answer your question on business continuity, prepare for it, right? Prepare to get smashed, for a disaster to happen. You got to expect that your data is going to be exposed, right? You're going to get a ransomware attack. Just assume that's going to happen. So more and faster than ever before. So what do you have to do? You have to have a backup in place, right? So you can restore. You're going to get hit by ransomware. You're going to get a phishing attack, right? So do the training, but assume that's from a business continuity standpoint, make sure you can recover the stuff and not have to pay that ransom, right? It's real simple, right? And those customers, we're seeing it from our customers, right? Our partners, our customers, that they're seeing it from their customers. And they're basically saying, look, for 365, for example, right? Microsoft says, we don't back this stuff up. And if Microsoft has an issue, there goes the town, right? There go the emails. Well, now more than ever, just from ransomware, that needs to be backed up. So things need to be packaged, like, for example, email backup and archiving for SaaS products, whether it's Google or 365, that needs to be part of the stack, right? So they can recover when they need to recover, right? And protect themselves from a backup and continuity standpoint.
So no, I think those are great points. Now, if we look at more distributed workforce, obviously you've got more distributed data, you've got more risk being distributed among larger geographies. Do we see one of the things I'm starting to see, and I don't know if you're hearing from your partners, is more co-managed opportunities too out there. Have you started or had your partners having these discussions with you of how to utilize your solutions with, in a co-managed environment? Anyone want to jump in here?
I can step in there. It's we co-manage, so part of our SOC as a service is, depending on the supported next-gen AV, we've actually helped in and offered at no additional charge where we'll step in and take over administration of the next AVs. And it's, it can be a bear when you're managing lots and lots of networks and dealing with multi-tenancy. And, there's already a shortage of skill sets out in the market. And I think you're going to see a stronger use case in the whole co-managed industry, if you will, whether it's SOC, NOC services, or other IT-related co-managed offerings. But from our perspective, we see the SOC industry just exploding literally by the day. So that's my insight on co-managed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. We're seeing, I think where some of the MSPs are really being squeezed in markets that are down due to the pandemic, whether it's retail or hospitality, and they're looking to move upscale with some of the larger organizations that have employees working remote outside of their own sphere, what their IT department can handle. So they're scaling up with their cybersecurity services, which is a good way to look.
I think, Brian, just to add to that, I think it's huge. What Billy has, what he's built up there, right? The SOC, and things are evolving, right? And it's strange how some things happen at certain times. Timing's everything, right? And there's never a good time for a pandemic. But guess what? Technology has evolved enough where, if you have an antivirus solution, so what, right? So what if you got the best one in the market? Who cares, right? If I'm a user, I get this little thing that says quarantine. Big deal. What am I going to do with it, right? So you have to have this proactive, threat detection and remediation, right? Everyone needs a SOC, period. I'm in the backup disaster recovery side of things, obviously, but everything's under the umbrella, obviously, right? Like IOTA, we have the security, we have the backup, we have the network security, we have the data security, and all this stuff. But when it comes to, being able to co-manage, right? Every MSP should be leveraging a SOC. Right? And every customer of that MSP should have a SOC. They should see the value in having a 24/7, organization monitoring, right? The pricing is such that, it's consumable, right? And ultimately, look, it's like the evolution of file backup, right? It's such a commodity now, right? It's still a need, and that's why we're all still in business here on the backup disaster recovery side, because it's a staple, right? But what ended up happening with the evolution of this industry, right? Sure, price drops per gig and all this other stuff. You get what you pay for a lot of times, big deal. But what ends up happening is the mentality and psychology of the MSP. What they end up doing is they're basically saying, look, if you don't take backup as a solution, right, as part of my stack, then I'm not going to take you on as a customer. Sign off on here, Mr. CFO. It's your fiduciary responsibility. You don't sign up, screw you. I'm not taking the liability when you call me. Literally, right? And so the same thing has to evolve very quickly, right? Very fast in the security space. And these MSPs need to do the same exact thing and have the same exact psychology where if their customer does not have a SOC, guess what? Sign this piece of paper. Because guess what? There is no edge, right? You need that. The MSP is not going to do that, right? You need somebody like a Billy Austin and or whatever company it is, right, that provides the right types of solutions. You have to have that as part of the stack, right? Maybe you have advanced version versus the base version, right? And things like that. So it's not 24/7, but bottom line is you got to make that a part of your stack. It's just the way it's gone, right? And if people don't have that and they don't spend the money to do it and the customer doesn't, then guess what? The MSP is going to get the same type of call, right? Instead of restore my data, I didn't have a backup in place. Why didn't you tell me? They're going to say, why didn't you tell me, right? And it's our responsibility to teach those MSPs to get that and put that in the bundle, right? Don't ever make it an option, right?
It alleviates a pain point for both them and their clients too. That's a nice part about that. Heather, any thoughts to add to that?
Yeah, all really good points. And also, I think what we've experienced with our, partners in our conversations, don't be afraid to outsource those services, right? Don't feel like you need to bring it in-house. Tapping into SOC as a service partners that specialize in having the talent and the continuous training to give you that SOC as a service. We run into a lot of conversations where MSPs want to bring that in-house, and it's just so expensive. It's just not realistic. It's going to distract from what they can focus on and do with their company. And, to everybody's point, it is key to have the SOC as a service, the MDR, constantly monitoring the network. And there's so many companies, whoever you decide to partner with, there are affordable options for small businesses. And so again, like to Zach's point is, you need to consider it in your, your budget to actually pay for cybersecurity. Small, medium, enterprise, cybersecurity is becoming affordable for all types of businesses. And so don't, again, just don't be afraid to partner with the right types of companies that can give you that to roll into your customers. And like Zach said, if they're not willing to pay for that, then have them sign something and evaluate if they're really worth your time.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, you said consider it, and I'd say just go do it. You have to do it, right? Absolutely consider it, right? From a look around, see what's out there, but just get it done, right? Period.
Yeah, it's a good time to provide that guidance, because I think from the SMB side too, they're looking for answers and ideas, and I guess the point is MSPs take the bull by the horn and say this is what needs to be done. The other thing I've run into too is some of the MSPs that have had to scale back their own personnel, and are trying to fill gaps. So the same part is outsourcing part of their business that whoever personnel they may have lost filled in. That's becoming a challenge for them too. Rather than rehiring right now, they're trying to run a leaner, meaner shop with less people. So outsourcing is obviously a good way to look at it before they can bring somebody back on.
And Heather raised a good point. I mean, it's just MSPs can't do this, right? And somebody would say, "Well, okay, Zach's crazy. I can do this." Well, you could do it just as well. You could become a data backup provider, right? And look how that worked out, right? You use the vendor. We're all here to help, right? I've been in this industry 20 years, right? I mean, I'll have this debate, and look, it ends up. MSPs are techies. They love the technical stuff. They want to create stuff, right? When I was a kid, I got a Star Wars watch. I opened it up. Guess what? I couldn't put it back together. I'm not a techie guy. I'm not that guy. I'm a biz dev guy, right? So, but ultimately, but they want to create stuff, and that's awesome, right? They have brains that I just wish I had. I wish I could do that stuff, but ultimately, you just can't. I mean, they have to bring the right tools to their customers, right? And like you said, I mean, there's only, like you said too, Brian. I mean, there's only a certain amount of time, right, that they have, and so a certain amount of expertise, and losing people, it's just not something they should be bothered with doing. Buy it, you sell it, make the margin, and grow your business, right? Get the revenue.
Yeah, and one of the analogies I like to use when I talk to partners is, like you go to a primary care physician, you would not expect them to also deliver your babies. You wouldn't also expect them to treat you for cancer, right? Cybersecurity is like the medical field in that it's a very specialized focus and talent and continuous training. And if you're not implementing it effectively and you don't have the right skills and you're not getting trained, then you might as well not offer it, or you might as well not do it. And so one of the things we run into is that control factor, right? Where they just want to, IT people and cybersecurity people, they don't want to relinquish control. And so again, just really find partners you can trust and build out your alliances and your partnerships, and just make it almost like it's an in-house, like you have your cybersecurity team, like with your bolt-on SOC as a service. Don't think of that as a partner, think of that as an integral part of your team.
Heather, you make me feel old, because my actual doctor did deliver me when I was a kid. That's, but we've moved beyond. But we moved beyond that now. Yeah, we've moved beyond. But it was a small town too. So, and Zach, I'm still sad thinking about your Star Wars watch, man. You've left.
Yeah, no, I bought it on eBay 2 months ago. Doesn't fit my wrist anymore. But I told my dad about it. We didn't have a lot of money back then, and he spent, money was $19 Canadian. I don't know, but it was, one of those things that I said, hey, I used to wear the watch. I still put it on, because he would have gotten pissed if I, didn't have it after he gave it to me for Christmas. And he used to tell me, what time is it? And I made up the time, right, based on the sun or the darkness. And he didn't question it. But those LED lights were not lighting up because I couldn't. I did buy it.
Well, one of the changes I think we acknowledge, work from home situations probably going to be more permanent for many companies. But what other cybersecurity practice, can you name one cybersecurity practice that will be forever changed by the pandemic? Anyone have? Heather?
I think VPNs. I know it's just a little minimal layer of security, but I think VPNs are going to be like the new antivirus. And what I mean by that is that before COVID, not a lot of people knew what VPNs were when you talk to like just the normal person, maybe not in IT, right? But a lot of people that are working from home are now using VPNs, company VPNs or whatever type of VPN they're using. But that's a good way to, right, like build a tunnel back to the corporate network and secure it. And so I think that VPNs will be used just like antivirus in the home. I think the normal person will start using VPNs even for their personal data. Just another piece of the security layers.
Very good. Any other thoughts? Billy, you look like you were ready to say something.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're kind of in a unique situation being developers of our own technology and, being part of the SOC. So we're getting fed back lots and lots of requirements on, hey, we'd like to be able to see this functionality. We'd like to be able to see this type of data piped into the SOC. And probably the number one thing that we're hearing now is we want to see DNS data from the home. We want to see VPN activity logs. So Heather just hit on it. I mean, VPN's by far probably the number one that's going to be ever changing. But also, let's think about something simplistic that we've all been preaching for years, and that's two-factor authentication. We're seeing more adoption, when I say we, in conjunction with our MSP partners. When you're able to demonstrate evidence that bad guys are trying to break in your web apps, they're trying to break into your devices, that makes the SMB owner more reluctant to give two-factor authentication a consideration again, where historically it's been a rebuttal. And it's been a big challenge for some SMB owners, and they simply just put up their hands and said, no, I don't want to add an extra layer into my authentication process. But when you demonstrate that their current Office 365 user emails are compromised, they start changing their opinion rather quickly. When you show them that China and Russia are beating away at their RDP connections that are not secured via VPN tunnel, they start giving it a second thought. In fact, we're seeing 2FA being adopted very well. So I would say that VPN, 2FA, and then you also hit on something earlier, and that's the whole co-managed situation. And there's no way that the existing MSP community, not the MSSP, but I'm talking about the MSP industry that we know it, just has the volume of talent and resources. And I think the word co-managed is also going to be a booming explosion. And this pandemic has helped spark that adoption in the industry, if you will.
Yeah, they've all become kind of the new norm. So I guess if you're going to make changes, this is the time to make changes, and hopefully clients will be more, I won't say receptive to it, but they'll agree more to Zach's point is you've put in place. This is the way it needs to be. This is how we need to move forward, and be more accepting of that point. Let's kind of shift to, we've been talking about the current situation, but let's look now, ahead. That's really what the discussion was. Q4 is going to begin in approximately 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks now. Some may be planning already, Q4 and Q1 of 2021. One piece of advice would you provide concerning cybersecurity practice strategies for the coming year for an MSP? Zach, why don't I start with you?
Sure. I mean, I think it's everything we've been talking about, right? We have a good group of vendors here, Heather, Billy, and everything that we all do, right? I'll throw myself in the loop. I mean, this is the topic, right? And so you need to have, and so just going back to VPN real quick, but the VPN piece, it's connectivity, right? But you get on, if I'm at home going into a VPN, accessing some computer at whatever office I used to work at, I used to go into, and that server, it's completely insecure, right? Yeah, VPN, okay, got it. But because look, if my computer at home gets attacked, right? If I click on that phishing email, guess what? They got the jewels, right? At that company. So you need that you need that multi-factor, right? The 2FA. But I think ultimately, look, it's a matter of adopting and making sure, just to reiterate, right? That there's a backup plan in place, right? You can recover because assume a disaster. You have a SOC in place, right? Co-managed, fully managed, completely outsourced SOC, if you ask me, right? And that's in place. So somebody's monitoring all that stuff, right? The MSP's got the tools here. They can pick their vendor that they want to work with, but they have to have that in place, right? Ultimately, until the internet is rebuilt, which again, that's a whole nother topic, but the internet needs to be rebuilt privately. It shouldn't run on software. That's the problem. That's the issue with the whole platform itself. So again, there's other things happening with that, and eventually, I'll leave that till the end. But they need to adopt the technologies, as soon as possible, right? So they can secure their customers and not be reactive, and everything needs to be go from a reactive to proactive mode, and then a preventative mode, obviously, and then be able to recover, right, that information when there is attack, because it will happen.
Very good. Heather, your advice for cybersecurity for 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. And, number one, like Zach said, you go from reactive to proactive. And really the only way to do that is to have, in cybersecurity, we call it that defense in depth, right? So it's that multi-layered approach to cybersecurity. It's not just one. And it's protecting that network, that corporate network, and assuming that you are going to get hacked. We know that you are going to. It's just a matter of time. And with COVID, the hacks and malware and everything has been on the increase. We've all seen it in our security operations centers. So for an MSP, an IT shop, MSSP, really take advantage of this opportunity to invest in your cybersecurity program. If that's through partnerships, great. But definitely, I think 2021, we're going to really continue just to see the exponential increase in cybersecurity. And also, I think that we're going to start to see, especially the more, the enterprise customers, they get it. They usually do invest in cybersecurity. But I do see that cybersecurity is affordable. And again, it's the layered approach that you need. And that layered approach is affordable to even the smallest of the small businesses. And so I think we're going to start to see those small business owners actually be receptive and actually know they are a target and be more open to allocating some funding to pay for cybersecurity. So, our partners, we're just encouraging them to really build in more cybersecurity conversations with their customers and really start to educate them and bring awareness to the risk that it's causing, that it causes their business. And so that's, I think, really what I would add into that.
So awareness and raise the standards moving forward for cybersecurity. How about you, Billy?
I'm actually going to play off of Zach and Heather. First of all, Zach made a comment that, you just have to make the, we'll call it the SOC as a service. It's as part of the actual offering, if you will, part of your plan. And this is such a great time to revisit, whether you're one of those MSPs offering the silver, gold, and platinum offering, and, what layers of security are provided in that, what level of SOC services provided in that, whether it's 24/7 or 9 to 5 or whatever it may be. And I think that we've, as a community, have done better at switching, over to Heather's comment on the defense in depth, which is also commonly referred to as layered security. I like to look at it like a piece of pizza. And, you got all these vendors out there, and MSPs have been having to make decisions on which vendor do I get for that slice and this slice and that slice. And what happened is they've got 12 slices of pizza now, and you got to make sure that they all fit in the box. And given the fact that we know that the market is moving to a co-managed environment, also whether it's, a managed SOC or co-managed SOC, whatever it may be, you want to make sure that all of those investments are not just supported by the SOC as, the actual people that are administrating and triaging those alerts, but you want to make sure there's interoperability. And what I mean by that is, you can correlate from a firewall to a VPN to a breach detection to an AV, and making sure that all of those communications all report back to your PSA. Make sure that billing is aligned and streamlined so there's profitability. I think we've all done a good job of evolving just past the firewall and the AV, and I'm starting to see where adoption of other needed technologies that address those historical security gaps. But one thing that's important is how to streamline and make sure they all communicate and talk to each other and make sure they're supported by your SOC. Some of those slices of pizza, they'll never work with a SOC. Some of them don't log, some of them don't play nice with other technologies. That's what I mean by that.
No, that makes sense. And you know, there's kind of that zen. If I'm looking to build my cybersecurity stack for 2021 and to really ramp up our protection level for our clients, the one thing that's usually the pushback is, yeah, I would love to throw this in there and everything in there, but I still have to be able to get it to where my clients can afford it. That's at the end of the day the hardest part. What should MSPs have for their base security offering, in your opinion, you know, moving forward, what they're offering to all of their business clients? Zach, you want to jump in on this?
Sure. I mean, you know, I'll start with the foundation, which I think is, you know, backing up your data, right? So it's protected. They need a backup solution, right? They need a backup solution for their files and folders, their servers, their, at this point, you know, their home computers, right? For that corporate data. Obviously, you know, the licenses, whoever's providing that, you know, G Suite, 365, Microsoft, they need to make sure they're backing that up, just like any company would, right? And do the things that you would basically implement and do, you know, if people weren't working from home, right? You still need that, right? Just because the edge is now gone, right? You still got to, and that's the challenge, right? Is bringing that information, bringing those tools to the home, right? And look, if you can't afford to give every one of your customers a PC, right, or laptop that's completely secure, right? One of my family members, she works for Raytheon, right? Guess what? they have their own computer, right? There's no completely secure lockdown. Well, their defense, you know, but that's what you need, right? And of course, there's a budget there, right? So, but ultimately, look, you need the backup piece. You need to be able to recover because you got to assume a disaster is going to happen. Somebody's going to click. Create training programs and phishing stuff. That's all great, right? And I think that's got to be a piece of it too. Education, right? Preventative, hopefully, and then ongoing monitoring and management, right? Threat detection and response. So those components right there. I mean, just get those in place. That's enough. I mean, that's going to create, you know, a cost that you know, of insurance, right? That stack, you know, make that as affordable as you can. My biggest thing is don't buy something because it's cheap. Right. There's a lot of vendors out there that put stuff together that jerry rig it and it just doesn't work as well. You know, you get what you pay for. Right. And so don't go with the cheapest cost per gig. Go with the best service, the best technology, the best solution if you can. Right. I know there's a lot of MSPs that buy on price only, you know, and I don't agree. Right. And look, maybe it's because we're not the cheapest, we're not the most expensive, but you know, you get what you pay for, I think. And I think that goes with a SOC and everything else. Right. And look, if you can tell the customer and have the customer understand how important, and this is a big challenge, right? Educating the customer at that endpoint, now educating that home user and their environment, right? But it's necessary, right? It's the MSP's, you know, duty to do the best they can, right? And obviously to make money and package things in an affordable way, but maybe have, you know, but they have their stacks and you know, put those together, but you need to have those components.
So they want to make sure you're setting your own standards. It's like, if I'm an MSP, this is what I'm most comfortable with, and don't compromise on that. Because I know it's very easy to have customers say, bulk at certain things and give in. But all day long, I'd see probably 2 out of 3 MSPs in forums and stuff saying, don't back down, do what's necessary, or walk away. And that's the hardest part, I think, for many to walk away from business, but there's going to be times when you have to.
You know, you look at the successful MSPs that have sold their businesses, right? I can name a bunch, right, over the last 20 years. And these folks have fired their customer. They say, I'm good with you. You don't buy into my model and pay my price. See you later. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, and fire them, get them out of there. You know, don't waste your time trying to educate these folks if they can't, you know, if you're never going to, you know, you're nickel and, at that point, they're nickel and diming you, right? And the MSP is so valuable They got to realize how valuable they are, and they need the customers that trust them. And granted, I get it. There's not a lot of money to go around, right? People are buying less, but security, it's up to the MSP to make it real, right? And it's up to us to help the MSP, provide the tools so that they can make it real and that's the customer so they believe it and will buy it.
Well, and that liability will eventually, or is more and more falling on an MSP too. So you can't compromise your standards, whether it's legal liability, financial liability. There's a lot of things now that you're being included in what used to be considered just a business problem. Billy, what are your thoughts on?
I think, Zach hit it great. You got your prevention layer, and then you got your threat detection and response, from a high level. We have the fundamental prevention technologies, also known as cyber defense, that we're all aware of, whether it's edge protection, tunnels, VPN tunnels, whether it's endpoint protection. But one piece that absolutely has to be a requirement is that continuous monitoring. I mean, think about it. Ask yourself as an MSP, would we ever onboard a new customer without an RMM agent? No, you wouldn't. Are you going to adopt and sign up a new customer without I'll call it the SMM agent, the secure monitoring agent? And it's, that's one thing that we just have to embed into the pricing, not just because we understand the evolving and increasing attack landscape, but you also just hit on something else that's pretty key. And sometimes I refer to it as the scapegoat, but it's the liability. I mean, these SMB owners understand that they can file up a lawsuit that says you're the MSP and your contract says you're responsible for the security of my network. But yet again, they never did buy all the security packages that were recommended by the MSP. And I think that this is just a great opportunity to redefine what the offerings are, what the contracts look like, and then also make sure that it aligns with the cyber insurance policy for those MSPs that are actually providing cyber insurance. In many cases, you cannot get a cyber insurance package if you don't have a backup, for an example. If you don't have some fault tolerance in case of a ransomware event, because we know that if you can't restore the data, then that's going to impact a greater cost, if you will. That's my 2 cents on it.
Heather, anything else to add to this, standard security package that MSPs should be offering?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but we've definitely had our partners who have fired their customers who have not wanted to adhere to their recommendations. And, it's unfortunate, but what we've heard is that those customers end up getting hacked and then end up calling their MSP or MSSP and saying, hey, look, I'm sorry, I'm in this, situation, I'm hacked, I need your help, right? And so it's unfortunate, but, there's a respect gained from that there as well when, they run into that. So that was one point, but definitely one of the recommendations with every partner that I talk to is we want to do the perimeter with the firewall, and then we want to do the network monitoring with our MDR, and we encourage you to have the backup. Antivirus, I mean, most people are able to afford that, but as we know with antivirus, it's known threats, right? You can run your malware through many different platforms and see which antivirus is going to pick that up, and then the hackers are going to modify that. So antivirus is only as good as it can be, right? So you do need something constantly monitoring the network and giving you those alerts to look into and take a deeper dive. So yeah, I think that was touched on nicely by Billy and Zach.
Yeah, I think antivirus is just that comes with it, right, Billy? I mean, that's part of the program. I mean, it's just that's the base, right, for to make everything. Yeah.
Everyone has antivirus. And Billy, I gotta say, I keep thinking about pizza now. I'm sorry, but
all I see is one little piece of the pizza.
Yeah.
We're all going good. Quick answer from each of you, because we're running light on time, and I got a couple more questions I want to touch on. What resources now? If we're looking into 2021, MSPs are trying to plan out what to do as far as training, building security practices, clients to go after. There's a lot of moving parts to a business strategy. What resources should IT service business owners be tapping into to strengthen their cybersecurity practice, and including any of the ones that you may offer as well? Heather, why don't I start with you?
Partnerships, partnerships, and partnerships. Again, really don't think you have to do this all in-house. Definitely look to partnerships that can help you bolt things on, and you don't have to learn all the tools. I mean, learning tools, managing tools, training, updates for your tools. Again, just really look to those partnerships that can help you scale and grow, reach new opportunities without giving you a bunch of work to do and things to learn and talent to hire. So I think partnership sums it up.
Very good. How about you, Billy?
Yeah, that's partnering is, so, historically we had MSP owners that would, they reach out to the vendors, they buy the product, and they only reach out whenever they needed tech support. And I think that there's been a shift in the industry where now it's actually becoming more of a relationship, which kind of validates what Heather says, because speaking to many vendor owners that provide solutions to the MSP, one of the investments that we're all making are in job positions and materials and collateral, known as what we call partner enablement. And if you've got a good relationship with your vendors that you choose to opt in on and partner with, there's a wealth of resources to help your internal organization sell better, market better, support better. And then, one of the things that I see that's neglected a lot is taking advantage of these Zoom technology about setting up one-on-one, calls. So now that we don't have to go out on site, why not schedule 30 minutes with your partnerships to be able to get your questions answered and also validate the things that you're about to go and roll out to your SMB client. So I would validate and mimic what Heather says.
Maybe augment the communications too between the partnerships and align those two so you can move forward faster as well, it would seem like. How about you, Zach? What resources should MSPs be tapping into?
Yeah, I mean, I ditto, Heather and Billy too. I think, if you, there's so much stuff going on, right? There's so many things, so many webinars to attend. I mean, podcasts to go to, hopefully all of you are watching this, tuning in. But I think if you look at it, you want to kind of figure out where's the time best spent, right? And then again, some folks might, I've been friends with everybody in the industry, but when I break it down, what would I focus on if I'm an MSP, right? I think you have the vendor, number one. They have the tools, right? Vendors have awesome tools and solutions, right? That they can directly communicate, right? Their value add, their technology, how to position it the best, because the vendors create it, right? And they can show you how to best bring it to market, right? And sell your customer on it. And what I'm going with it is then you have distributors, right? Distributors, in my opinion, are a little bit detached. Right, we like distributors because a lot of us, we sell through Ingram Micro, they're down channels, and there's good distributors out there. But if you ask me, the expertise that the distributors have, and I'll probably get a few phone calls from some choice folks that I've been friends with for years. But bottom line is they're detached, right? They just the salespeople they want to pump stuff through. They want to make their commissions, right? They have tools too. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't focus on trying to educate yourself through distribution, right? Because they're transactional. Right, and that's just the way I see it. And then you have kind of the industry. And when I say industry, I'm talking, organizations, because there's a lot of good information. Like, for example, I'll pump CompTIA up, right? Because they're a great organization. They provide a lot of good value, good information, interactive, communities and things like that. So I think that's number two. But I think the vendor really can bring it all together. Right, they're grabbing things from the industry and presenting it based on the technology and solution that you're interested in providing to your customer. So that's where I kind of hang the hat. Right, it's focus. If you're going to spend any time, focus on talking to as many vendors as possible. Right, even if you buy from one, talk to another. Right, and I'll sum it up where, just like, great point, Billy. I mean, with the whole Zoom thing, right? I mean, it's a silver lining, right? You can touch so many people and get in front of so many people. What would be awesome, and I just thought of it, is look. I'd love to just have, if my team just Zoom, right? Not with other vendors, right? Not with partners, but vendor, partner, and customer, right? A channel manager at any organization can go to a partner and say, invite your customers, right? 10, 20, 30. I mean, vendors can just step up and just, it's not a lunch and learn. We can hit those all day long, right? And if we're touching those customers now seem a lot more valuable, and we can do the selling for them, right? And so I think using Zoom or whatever platform it is, it's a great time to be able to leverage this, right? And people aren't traveling around, hanging out at bar. I mean, we're here, right? We're talking to people that you typically might not ever talk to, right? So the silver lining is just that, right? Use us and engage your customers, because ultimately we want you to sell through, because you're going to give us more revenue, you're going to get yourself more revenue, and you're going to educate the customer.
So leverage those collaboration opportunities.
I think it starts with the vendor. The vendor is the vendor. Yeah.
I think I've been connected to Zach on LinkedIn probably 15 years, but we've probably only spoken 3 times over Zoom in the past month.
Yeah, on panels. Yeah. We got to catch up, What do you think? I got some good stuff going on. You'll be interested.
And as a disclaimer, we are not sponsored by Zoom. I think we've given more. We equally like GoToMeeting and WebEx and the others too. So we don't want to get anybody offended at us on that point. Yeah. But the one last point too is even peer groups. I think is one of the groups. You were talking about distributors, and I agree to some effect. On the sales side, especially, it's transactional. But the peer communities, including those and the distributors, have an immense validation point for those building a cybersecurity strategy. So. Leverage the peers that you work with to sound out your strategy when you build it.
Yeah, and I'll just say, CompTIA, but IOTA. I'm going to throw that in because look, we're here, right? And doing a hell of a job. So, share this thing out and just get people involved and spread the word about this community, because it is awesome.
Yeah.
I can't disagree with that point, Zach. We have a lot of resources on the website as well.
Send me my free punch pizza. I'll be waiting for it.
Yeah, now we owe you pizza. That's awesome. So my one last broad question is, let's look longer term. And real quick, looking into your crystal ball, what will cybersecurity look like in 3 to 5 years? Anything different that you can point out that you think we'll be doing? And why don't I start with you, Billy?
Oh, man, what a loaded question that is.
It is.
So I think the given is we know that the attack surface is going to continue to expand. The attackers get faster, better, especially when you look at the plethora of automated black market attack code at their fingertips. Back when I was a kid, we didn't have computers in school. Everybody's got computers in school today, so anytime you have a booming industry like the internet and computation, you're always going to have criminal activity associated with it. Therefore, you have digital crime. And we've got the introduction of IoT. Now you hear things hacking automobiles. It'll be radios. It'll be every possible thing that you can possibly think about is going to be an attack vector that eventually needs monitoring, prevention, threat detection, and response. And it's really based on the adoption of those technologies and how they get embedded into our daily business operations. But at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a little more than 3 decades, and it's almost the same thing. It's just now everything's starting to come together to get insight. That's not really the direct answer I wanted to give, but you caught me off guard on that one. But no, threat detection and response, to be able to handle the booming and adopted attack services that are adopted in the SMB infrastructure.
Well, and that's why I asked that question, because I think MSPs need to not only keep current, but be looking further down that road so things don't catch them off guard. Yeah. How about you, Zach?
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying let's go and invest into IoT monitoring today, because I think that's a little too much. I mean, if somebody wants to hack my refrigerator and get my beefsteak, then have at it. So,
are your people?
I'm getting hungry. Pizza, beef. Oh. Zach, how about you? Put your crystal ball on. What's your magic?
So, I'm going to just go outside the universe, so to speak, but bring it in a little bit. So I think there's going to be a new network. So if I'll preface it, and this is a loaded question, and I can sit here and just go on about this stuff. But I think, if you look at the way the internet was built, right? And I guess thankfully it was built the way it was, and unthankfully it was built the way it was, right? Because it's all about the handshake, right? All the technologies that we have sitting on the edge, trying to keep the stuff out, right? The actors out, the bad actors. It's because, what happens? Well, you just ask the server for something, right? If you got the name and password, you got the jewel, right? There's your file, right? There's your information. So I think, and this is happening in certain, industries, critical infrastructure, right? Things like that, where the network needs to be rebuilt, right? The internet's going to be always there. It's always going to be there, right? But I think the foundation, there needs to be security built into the hardware, right? And things are happening out there where if you can streamline, if the technology exists and you can build another plane that's completely secure, right? Point to point, create the FI, call it the future internet, right? But a completely secure network. If and that might be, hopefully it'll be 3 to 5 years, right? Might be further out, but maybe not, right? So the point is I think if you're able to create that network and have that as an option, right? Not everybody might use it, but if the technology works out right, and there is advancements in tech, you still need the regular internet, the public internet, but there needs to be a private internet, right? And I think once you're able to fuse the two and the major providers can bring that back down to, the lower levels, the markets that like we have, like the home network, right? Then you're able to secure data, applications, the environment in a whole nother way, right? Now, does that put some of us out of business? Not necessarily, not at all, right? Because guess what? If you look 10, 20 years down the road, maybe that'll be, we'll be able to keep everybody out, right? Maybe that's not realistic, but again, that's kind of what I think is a new network will be built with security embedded in the hardware, in the foundation.
So instead of the handshake, we'll move to the fist bump. Right? Just like COVID-19.
You're gonna move. You'll always have the corporate network. Things are always going to get hacked, right? In 3 to 5 years. Except what'll happen is there's going to be some kind of component, right? And I know, military-wise, and everything, you have something called, I don't have to go into this, air gap level security, but you can basically, if there's a wall, right? I'm not talking about firewalls and the edge stuff, but if you hit that and you know that, hey, my C drive is plugged into this other type of device that makes another part of the network or forms another physically private network internally to secure certain jewels and certain information, then guess what, right? We're a little bit further ahead, right? We're protecting something and making something invisible that you want to have invisible, right? So I'll leave it at that. But that's what I feel needs to be done to really have an impact on security.
Nice. Heather, what are your thoughts as far as the future?
Yeah, definitely all good points. The area I'll touch on really is like with MSPs. I think we're going to see a bigger shift to more MSPs and MSSPs. So their business model actually really including everything from, simple IT type of stuff, setups and, those kind of things for their customers to actually having that security stack that they do offer their customers. I also think that we're going to start to see the business owners and the small business really become more aware of all this and again, more receptive to it and allocating more of that budget to actually pay for cybersecurity. And I think we'll see a lot more with the cyber insurance as well. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they're all transitions. Those are all good points. What the future will bring, obviously, will depend on what's coming. But in the channel traditionally has moved, I won't say slowly. It's probably accelerated a lot over the last 3 to 5 years, especially when it comes to cloud adoption and others. But the value of an MSP, I think, is shifting, and cybersecurity is a key part of that. I think it'll continue to be as well. So before we sign off today, I wanted to leave you all a chance to leave us some final thoughts. Billy, why don't I leave it with you? Any other things as far as planning into 2021 with their cybersecurity stack?
Stay safe, stay clean, grab a pizza.
I knew you were going to say pizza in there.
Heather, are we going to throw in beefsteak on yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just a last comment. I think Zach hit it really well, and that's make sure that SOC or your cyber portfolio, which in most scenarios is going to be a co-managed environment, is embedded with your base offerings and your core plans, if you will, just very much like you offer your RMM, your backup, and your edge devices.
Very good. Heather?
Yeah, have those conversations with your customers, protect them. They don't know what they don't know. Cybersecurity is a must for all businesses. And so, just navigate those conversations.
And Zach, you get the final, well, almost the next to final word.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, with everything happening, like the pandemic, the silver lining, we're lucky to be in this industry. We really are, right? I mean, it's thriving. I love the fact that MSPs are so busy they can barely talk to vendors, right? Because they're dealing with their customers and securing their customers, which is awesome, right? And I think, adopt a couple more tools to that stack. And I think you'll round out, you'll end up in a good spot, right? You'll end up stronger because of it. Other than that, I'd just say, do the right thing, stay safe out there. And, we got to all fight this thing together. I'm not going to get political, but, just got to do the right thing here, and we'll come back. And hopefully a lot of your customers, will continue on, right? There's going to be a lot of heartache and hurt because there will be a lot of customers that will fall by the wayside, unfortunately. But just keep your eye on the ball. MSPs need to maybe reposition from a customer standpoint, maybe go after some new verticals and markets. Because if they're in the restaurant industry, there's just a lot of stuff happening, right? So to keep themselves up and at them, you got to just keep your eye on the ball, right? But stay safe and healthy, and leverage your vendors, because and again, I think what the idea Billy gave me, just with the whole thing is vendors set up those meetings. We want to get in front of your customers. We'd love to, if there's an opportunity to do that, and I think we'd love to teach them for you. So leverage us, and hopefully we can help each other together grow.
Awesome. Great comments. On behalf of the IOTSA team, I want to send a sincere thank you. I have the best job available because of the people that we surround ourselves with, including this group, Heather Myers of ADT Cybersecurity, Zach Karsan of Vault America, and Billy Austin from RocketCyber. We appreciate you participating in such a great discussion today, so thank you. Also want to send a thank you to all of our listeners. We appreciate you as well, and encourage you to stop by iotsa.com for more of the resources that we mentioned during the security session today. So have a safe and secure day, and thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Brian, Billy, Heather.